Good morning, good evening and good afternoon, ladies and gents, and welcome back to Men of War Assault Squad 2. We are once again in the gem editor, and these German troops are waiting for an attack, a night attack in fact, in the middle of winter in the Stalingrad area. We are down to the last few forces of the 6th Army defending Stalingrad, and they have of course been encircled by the Soviet army. Now, I have in the distance 2 waves of 600 Russian infantry and God knows how many tanks. So overall you're going to be seeing 1,200 Russian infantry try and bust their way through this first line, our second line of defence, which is a lot heavier, and I'm hoping that we can stop them on this line of defence. Our third line of defence, which is quite light, it's only got a few cannons and machine guns and a bit of infantry here and there. And our last line of defence before we get to our supply depot back here, as well as our ammunition and fuel dumps. You can see we've got a hell of a lot of resources back here, and we do not want it falling into Soviet hands. So without further ado, ladies and gents, I am going to get right into the battle and see whether we can survive. We've got about a company and a half of German infantry, as well as the last few Panzer IVs and the last surviving Panther tank on this side of the Russian encirclement. Now, I will be using the other maps from the Heroes of Stalingrad map pack, because there are some awesome maps. If you don't know, they are the maps from Red Orchestra 2 that have been converted into AS2, and they are absolutely brilliant. So without further ado, let's bring on the Russian attack in the snow in the middle of night. So the Russian attack is in full swing. We have infantry coming forward as well as armoured units, and there's an absolute frenzy of gunfire going off. That is not a sight you want to see coming towards you, an absolute wave of dust being kicked up by Russian armour. So these tanks are absolutely annihilating this frontal infantry. Now, I think our first line of defence is pretty much crushed at this point, so we are in fact going to move up to our second line of defence on the mountain. That was a very nice shot from that AT gun on the right flank. And I hazard a guess that these tanks will begin opening up on targets very soon, as well as the AT guns, infantry and bunkered MG42s that we have all along this hillside. It might take a while for the Russians to get up here, but it's not going to be much longer before they start engaging this hillside fortification. Oh, we just lost our Panzer IV, and I imagine a lot of infantry around it. We are of course using the Robz realism mod, which if tanks are hit in certain places, their fuel storage will explode, their ammo racks will explode, and everything will go up. You can of course also have pieces of armour and tanks that their ammunition cooks off inside, and you get a lovely kind of fireball of flame come up out of the turret. And then there's a bit of a random chance of whether that will actually explode or just burn out. I think it's going to be the age-old thing that happened in World War II, where quantity will beat quality. Because without a doubt, the German armaments and German weapons are better than the Russians. but the Russians have 5 times the amount of them. That's quite loud. Wow. Oh my god, there is an infantry charge up the hill. We have a tank burning off or cooking off in the background, and we have the infantry charging up the hill against an MG42. Yeah, that doesn't really work when you charge an MG42. It does if you have numbers, but it doesn't really work in in any other sense. And these Russians are getting absolutely laid out by this MG42. However, because of the amount of numbers they have, they are actually making progress. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if you have some German and or Russian grenades starting to go out in the near future, as it turns from kind of open warfare into more CQB style warfare. But we have explosions going off left, right and centre, tracers going off left, right and centre, and gunfire going off all over the place as the Russians try and make their way up this hillside. We have lost a number of our AT units, we've lost a number of our tanks. These fortifications are taking a hell of a pounding from the Russian tanks. And that, ladies and gents, is what happens when you have, I think they have 7 MG42s currently firing down on that infantry. That infantry on the left is getting absolutely annihilated by this MG42, which I believe has actually gone down. It has gone down. So it will be down to the remaining infantry here. Now, the logical thing would be that 2 of these guys would go and man this MG42, which I am going to go and do. But that is it. I am only doing logical movements. They didn't even make it. Wow. Well, those riflemen are not going to do any help there, so let's just go and take them down anyway. You know what, I'm actually going to have this guy crawl down. Oh. So I just had to, that MG42 kind of bugged out a bit there, so I had to reset it to its original position. It did help a bit, but I think the majority of the forces, actually all of the forces on the left flank are now down. So it's going to be the job of the rest of these Russians, however many are actually still alive, to, God, that was a slaughter. That was an absolute slaughter there. Christ. Oh my god. A lot of Russians lost their lives on that bit. So we still have our... Oh, that was a nice hit by a tank. I don't know how many of these MG42s are still up. Oh, we just had a massive hit by a Russian piece of armour from the rear. I think that's an early T-34. I believe it's an early T-34. And it's not going to let me have the name of it, is it? It is an early T-34. So the infantry are still holding up, however, I do believe that this tank is going to annihilate the remaining infantry that are holding this right flank. So ladies and gents, this footage ended up being nearly an hour and a half long, and therefore I am going to split it into 2 parts, as there was just too much amazing stuff that happened in the first half as well as the second half. So I hope you have enjoyed the video. If you like it, then hit that like button down below and leave a comment down below if you want to see any more battles on Men of War Assault Squad 2. I am going to hit up a load of different mods throughout the next few weeks. Without further ado, thank you very much for watching, and good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good night. And wherever you are in the universe, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next video.